Hello and welcome everyone out there listening to this program. Thank you for tuning in once more for another episode on songwriting tips and tricks. My name is Kieper and I'm so glad to talk to you about Thesauruses today. So have you ever been searching for a better way to rephrase an idea? Or maybe you've been looking for a word that fits the meter or beat or paints a more beautiful image in the audience's head? If that is the case, then today's episode will help you with that. Because today's episode is dedicated to a powerful weapon that should be an essential tool in your songwriting. Of course, we are talking about synonyms. So, what is a synonym? Or instead, what is the definition of the word synonym? And the dictionary gives us two explanations in this case, two easy explanations. And number one being one of two or more words or expressions of the same language that have the same or nearly the same meaning in some or all senses. Number two being a word or phrase that is by association held to embody something such as a concept or quality, a tyrant, for example, whose name has become the synonym for oppression. So close your eyes for a minute or think back to the last song you've been working on. Are you there? Great. So now try to remember writing the lyrics and what you've been thinking about. Did you write the words straight from your mind? Or did you contemplate the pictures and how you could clarify or rephrase it more colloquial? If you did, then you are already implementing this powerful tool. If not, don't worry. It is rather tedious work and takes a lot more time than your usual writing. But how do we use a thesaurus properly, and what is the intention behind it? So in general, firstly, we open our thesaurus, maybe digitally or analog. Then we search for a word we want to get a synonym for. So you search for the entry like you would in a dictionary, or you type it in a digital option. So let us simulate this for a second. So given we are looking for a sharper word for the rather common word heart, the thing in your chest. In the right context, that word could be compelling on its own. And maybe your style of writing could be based on an everyday style of speech. However, perhaps you want to re-illustrate the picture. So now we search for the entry, in this case heart, in our thesauruses. We type it in on Macmillan, Merriam-Webster, or whatever thesaurus you might be using. And on the left, I have already searched for the word in the rather heavy book, which might be the major disadvantage over a digital option. And from here, it is quite easy. When we find the right word, we have to think about the meaning we wanted to convey. And in this case, heart does not only stand for an organ in a body, but has various meanings depending on the context. So in the internet version, in our case, the Macmillan dictionary I'm using right now, this is quite easy and well organized. For Merriam-Webster as well, it's rather easy. We search for the right meaning, and just beneath the definition of the word, there's a button for the thesaurus. As easy as that. Then there's an array of general terms about the concept behind the word. So as some of you might know, there is a theory in linguistics or language studies in general, which is called the semiotic triangle. This triangle tries to explain the cognitive work you do when you read, write or speak a word, or vice versa. So when we think about a picture we want to convey, maybe the heart in this case, we might immediately know the word in our native language. Still, if you're writing in your second language, it might take some more time. So the logic behind this triangle is that the word heart, of course, is just a defined term in your language. At the same time, in another language, like in German for example, there's a different word for the same concept behind it. Anyway, I guess you understand what I mean, because the concept is not bound to the expression you're using, whether you're writing or speaking it. A word is not bound to the picture. And of course, both the idea and the word are not the real thing. This is another important thing to mention when talking about this semiotic triangle. And this is excellent news for us as songwriters. This means that writing has seemingly endless possibilities for rephrasing and conveying pictures. So rephrasing is an essential and important part of speech. So let's get to work now. We found a suitable thesaurus online, and we can see how the internet comes in handy. Not only do we have it at hand at any location, but it's easy to handle as well. The offline version of it is not as fast as the online one, depends on your internet connection and the web page you're using perhaps. However, we might get more information and an interesting choice of words that are not available on some platforms and has a special sophisticated touch to it. But that depends on your choice of thesaurus, because there are various types of speaking in whatever register you want to be talking about. A thesaurus could be dedicated to academic personnel, or maybe some important words for the clerics, whatever. You might want to know exactly words for this case. So have a look what register you want to use in your speech. Now you might ask, where do you get the neat synonyms and how can you use it in your songs? Perhaps just have a look in a nearby library, book or antiquities shop, or do a little online research for suitable thesaurus. For my taste, Macmillan, Merriam-Webster or the Oxford Dictionary are reliable sources with high esteem. Analogous thesauruses should also be adequately collected and published by a renowned publisher. If you are a student at a university or college, there may also be a table in the linguistics or English faculty giving away old books. And if you get lucky, like I was with my Oxford Thesaurus, you get a tremendous thesaurus for free. And having one at home comes in quite handy when you are writing. So anyway, today we're gonna write a little poem together. It intentionally is neither sophisticatedly well written nor is it rhyming, as we think about the synonyms to rhyme it with. And the poem I figured out was like this, goes like this synopsis. The pain I tried to drown in alcohol, the hole it left me with alone, the broken heart lies down in pieces, you swept away so easily. So well, not much of a story yet, it is quite open and unrhyming. However, some pictures could be coherently connected. So we need to look for the nouns, adjectives and adverbs as they convey the most pictorial meaning. In this verse, pain would be a noun, I would be a noun, try would be a verb. To drown is a verb as well. The hole is a noun, left me with, alone, as an important construction. The broken heart is pictorial as well. Is down, again, also important. In pieces, noun. You swept away so easily, so this is also pictorial. The nouns are the most critical conveyers in language, as they determine the verbs that follow it and also have specific attributes. So in order, we will look up the nouns first, then think about the verbs, and then have a look for the adjectives and adverbs. In this case, I will be using the Macmillan and Merriam-Webster thesaurus, as it's way faster than using the analogous one. A suitable noun for the pain would be agony or distress. I find as it paints a picture of great pain and it's more specific, so I'm gonna use distress perhaps. Next up, alcohol. Macmillan does not have a suitable word for my taste, so I head over to Merriam-Webster, and I like the bottle they are describing here, as it is quite illustrative for my taste, and it fits the broken pieces in the next line. And another word for hole would be a crack, and I like this one, as it has a delicate touch to it. Heart we had earlier, And a suitable word, which is quite the contrary to the picture, is virtue. And if the protagonist is a man, it leaves the impression of weakness and weariness. So let's try this for once and change the to my as well, as it is more personal. To my mind, I'm going to drop the is in this verse. We are also going to stick with pieces in this case, as I cannot find a suitable word that is of my liking. So far, this is what we've got. The distress I tried to drown in bottles. The cracks it left me with alone. My broken virtue down in pieces. And you swept away so easily. So, you see the pain changes to distress. I try remains to drown in bottles. Bottles replacing the alcohol. The cracks replaces the pain. Left me with alone remains the same. My broken virtue, virtue for the pieces, and virtue. Oh, my broken. What was the broken heart? My broken heart, my broken virtue in this case, down in pieces, and you swept away so easily. The last line is mainly verbal and adverbial, and you swept away so easily. So we're going to proceed with the verbs. For verbs, I prefer the Merriam-Webster, as there's a whole section following the noun synonyms. So this is rather handy. To try, we're going to trade in to strive, for to strive, as it is also the same sound as try, but has a more zealous feeling to it, and in this context seems more vulnerable. Drown is left the same. In this case, the next line is also staying just as it is for now. The next line is without a verb, and the next line suits the picture of shattered glass and erasing all the evidence. So far we have now, after changing these, the distress I strive to drown in bottles, the cracks it left me with alone, my broken virtue down in pieces, and you swept it away so easily. So the thing I changed really is the last line, which is you swept it away instead of you swept away so easily. So she swept it under the carpet perhaps. So erasing all the evidence. I strive to drown is in the first one I changed as well. So next up, adjectives and adverbs. The first line has none. The second one only has the alone, and the thesaurus has on one's own as a suggestion, and thus I'm rephrasing the line to the cracks I'm left with on my own. The broken virtue could also be sinking to pieces, and it gives an exciting connotation to the act of falling and cracking open, perhaps a slow-mo memory or submerged feeling of shock. The easily is quite dull and common, so the thesaurus also suggests naturally. In this picture I find it rather suitable, as he or she appears to be emotionally cold and perhaps a notorious heartbreaker. I'm adding a pronoun in the last line, and we are about done. So eventually we end up with something like this. The distress I strive to drown in bottles. The cracks I'm left with on my own. My broken virtue sunk to pieces, and you swept it away so naturally. Well, it's not a Shakespearean masterpiece. However, it is the first synopsis, perhaps, from where we can continue with the next part of the story. So for now, I think this is a great start. Maybe some of you want to try using my poem with your thesauruses and start telling your own story from here. I'd be thrilled to hear some of your interpretations that have different twists. As you can see, you can find synonyms for nearly everything you want to. And maybe you understand now how powerful this tool can be. An interesting exercise is using a verse or chorus from one of your favorite songs and try rephrasing it. It opens up a whole load of opportunities, as suddenly there are so many words you can choose from. While pop music today sometimes is somewhat stodgy in its choice of words, maybe you can go that extra mile to add appealing pictures to your lyrics by using interesting words. So if you have a few minutes, look up your favorite song's lyrics and rephrase a few lines from that song. If you like, just send me a message with your poem and I'll read it out in the next episodes. Okay, just one more thing that pops up in my mind right now. I guess that most of you listen to music in the language that you are using in songwriting as well. An inspiring approach to new inspiration or ideas could also be to use a song in a language that you're not writing in. In my case, there will be German, roughly translated, and do the same thing we did earlier. You might come to entirely different ideas and stories and pictures that lead to a number one hit perhaps, while telling the same story just with different words. So thank you for listening to this episode, and there's more to expect in the next month as I'm so thrilled to continue this program. And I want to leave you with a song recommendation today, and I'm really inspired by the style of writing that is implemented. An artist I discovered just a few weeks ago, Boy in Space. If you haven't heard of him, he has heartbreaking lyrics that are so illustrative, and his song Drown is a touching ballad and really well written. So not only the song is really catchy and flawlessly performed, but the lyrics in themselves carry a lot of meaning and fit the music so beautifully. Just recently, he's been the opening act for Alec Benjamin, and his social media is really down to earth and fun to follow, I think. So you might give it a listen and note down some pictures, rephrase his songs if you want to as well, and happy songwriting, that's all I can say. So long, I hope you enjoyed today's episode and stick around for another round next time. And if you like the format, I'd be highly delighted and appreciate your support by subscribing to this show and marking it 5 stars on Apple Podcast or any other platform you're using. More tips are also available on the Tumblr blog on songwriting tips and tricks, which is also available on WordPress. So I'm wishing you all the best and happy songwriting. See you next week.